my friends, I'm Rick, and this year's seat at the table, and wandering around in here somewhere is little Missy. I believe that's her poking her head up there, over there looking out the window, right? Yeah, we got a sweater on today. I'm not a big fan of sweaters. I never have been. I don't like the way they ride up my on my throat, so I'm constantly pulling down on them like this. I've got a couple of them because it's Iowa. Sometimes you need to have warmer weather. Mostly, it's come to the conclusion that two of the four flannel shirts I have are just too small. I bought them like 8 years ago, 7 8 years ago, and it's not that I've gotten fatter. I've actually lost some weight. I'm just hovering around the 300 mark. It just kind of pops up and down by 5 pounds depending on the visit to the doctor's office, which is still a little more than I weighed about 10 years ago, but a hell of a lot less than I weighed 20 years ago, because I weighed 420 pounds in 2002. Just saying, right? So anyhow, we gave the shirts to some family members, and hopefully they can make use of them. They're still really good shirts. They don't get a lot of mileage. I wear them here at the house, and occasionally when we go out. But usually, majority of the week, I'm wearing work shirts or no shirt at all, because I've always been a shirtless kind of guy when it comes to being in my own home. I'm not keen about wandering around outside all that much without a shirt, because you get sunburned too easy. Anyhow, so we are looking at still cycle 17 of A Game Not Traveled, and one of the numerous events that I have been trying to get dealt with is the smuggler. I have this quote smuggler captain that's in port, and I decided I'm going to have my Commerce and Labor Minister go down and have a conversation with this captain, and see if I can get some answers to some questions. You can be we're talking playing 21 questions here, and you're playing yourself, so you can be as blunt or as slick or as crude as you want, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But when I looked at my modifiers between my Commerce and Labor Minister and the smuggler captain's actually slightly more ranked percentage wise. This means that my minister has a -3% to begin the negotiations and things like that with. And let me find my negotiation chart. My interaction chart would be the one I want right here, right? Because it makes life simpler. And I looked at it, all the modifiers that applied them, so we still end up with a -3, which is what we can. Is what it is. That is, that's interaction response. That's for chart usually from failed resolve another attribute check, also surrender and combat, blah, blah, blah. Seems indifferent. Withdraw. I want the negotiation one. I want the negotiation one, not the interaction one. The negotiation one has different modifiers and a different flow to it. I don't know, sound-wise, like I said, all last year I tried doing sound videos with this headphone with the ear mic thing, and I couldn't really tell the difference between having the headphone plugged in and on and not having it on, other than maybe the occasional drowning out the background noises and that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is the one I want right here. And so I stopped using it. It's a pain in the ass, and it involves me having a splitter up here for something because I only have 2 available USB ports, and one of them, of course, is dominated by the wireless mouse, and that leaves the last one, and it has to do double duty. It's both got my overhead light here attached, or not the camera, the camera that we're looking through right now, and then I would have had so I had this little splitter. You plug it in, and it was plugged into an outlet, and then you would run the camera off of one side as a USB port, and the headphone off another. It had four ports, and there's some disadvantages and advantages, of course, and I'm not a technician or a computer guru, so I can't tell you what the hell the differences are in those things. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I'm interested to know in this scenario here is, first off, is our quote smuggler captain. This is the same smuggler captain, mind you, that our ship, constables and associated people went in and raided and acquired some agromechs and stuff. And so hopefully, the captain's added is part of the -3 is because the captain had some negative responses to the house basically taking his cargo from him. And so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to offer the captain a 10 credit, and I'll just call it a bribe for what it is, a 10 credit consolation prize or some bullshit, but this would gain me 10% for my modifier, which will then give me a +7% as opposed to a negative 3. So, one of the first things. So, the first question is, are you independent? And that's a good question because they might not. They might be part of a smuggler organization or any slew of other things, or be employed by somebody. So, are you independent? And we get a +7 to start with, and I roll a 98 +7 is 105, which would be one without a doubt. Yeah, that's right. What is that? I'm like a goober across the street. Guy's got 5-6 vehicles in his yard. I don't think most of them run very often. And he has a love affair with the waterworks and power utility people, because waterworks comes out every now and then and shuts his water off, and he plays a game with them and vice versa. I don't know. So this gives us a +25. An original +7 gives us a +32% on the next follow-up question. So yeah, we now know this guy's independent. Now let's see. Do you know the location of the nearest trade world? We got a +32. Yes. What? Yeah. What? You gonna come out and say hi? You gonna say hi? Is this you? Hi, Missy. This is little Missy. She's the one that's been for the last 5-6 months. When I do videos, she's been down here in the cat carrier. The last couple of weeks I've been letting her out because I think she's getting a little more okay with stuff, as long as I keep her off the laptop. Yes, go eat some more of your food down there. She was skin and bones, literal skin and bones, when she showed up on our doorstep out here, and I was very, worried. She's a stray, and I have, I can't quite get the wife to understand that some strays are literally born in the wild. Well, somebody must have thrown her out of their house, or she escaped somebody's house. I don't think so. But you never know. I don't think she's quite a year old, or she's coming up on her year old, and she's really small. Like I said, the fact that she was so damn skinny, she was basically begging for handouts at all the neighbors' houses. And I saw absolutely, in the week or so, 2 weeks we had her out in our yard, I saw absolutely no inclination on her part to chase the birds. And that's unusual for a stray cat, especially considering we have bird feeders out here, so we tend to attract a lot of birds and squirrels and things like that, and she had no interest in them. So that made me wonder if her mama didn't die early and she didn't know how to feed herself very well, lived off of bugs and whatever she could scavenge kind of stuff. Anyhow, so she's doing much better now. She's got some weight on her. We're gradually increasing more and more time out here in the main house with the rest of the cats, because eventually that's the goal. It's that, or she goes back outside. And God, I'm getting old and sappy at this stage of my life, because with 2nd Avenue up here, that's a major thoroughfare just half a block up the street, and idiots racing up and down our street all the damn time. The chances, it's inevitable. I parry at least one to 2 strays a year because of that. And last year, the winter before, the handful of strays that we've been feeding regularly that were left over from the big mob we had that came across the street. They were whittled down. Several went to the ARL, never came back. Several had to be, one of them had to be put down. 3 were found dead, and I buried. And another one was found dead and reported into the ARL. That's how we knew about it. It's just the way it goes. So now we got 6 of them. They live out in the garage, and they're all fat as all get out. And then these in here. And so, you know, it is what it is. Anyhow, she down there eating some of that wet food. Do you know where the nearest trade world is? And we have a 32 modifier, so 64 brings us to 96, so that would also be a yes. Yeah. Will you give me coordinates? So in this case was, what was that, 46, 96. All right, so we're still at a, and we're going to be at a plus 25 cent at this moment. So, and 34 and 25, so 34, 54, 59, 59. Said yes, with a soft yes, which gives us a plus 5 modifier. So plus the plus 5 plus the original plus 7 plus 12% for the next question. So that's one of the things one of the things we'll go ahead and just in a nutshell, carte blanche. If it's more than 100 light years away, it's impractical for anybody to reach anytime soon. I mean, you're not going to take your Tech 1, Tech 2 starships and go 100 light years with them. You will run out of supplies, or you will be forced to carry internal supplies, and so your cargo bay will be even more limited, and this smaller ship's not going to carry a whole lot of cargo in the first damn place. So unless you're trying to go there and make send somebody there on a one-way trip to make an office, there's much better ways to do that. For example, every cruise liner that shows up on the planet, can I get in here? Can I get up here? There you go. So every cruise liner that shows up on the planet, you could just make a dice roll and say 10% chance or less they're going to make a call at that trade world in the next 2 or 3 jumps that they make. And if so, then you could just pay for passage, and all the mechanics are in the book to do that, to send a representative and some finance, some money to the trade world to make purchases of stuff and to hire transports to haul shit back to you. It's much more expensive to do this, and it's not quite as fun as making your own trade route, but it's is what it is. So we're just going to roll carte blanche to see how many light years. Another thing, it needs to be at least 10. So a minimum of 11 light years or more. If you get a trade world that's within 10 light years, it's literally in your yard, and that's a problem. That's too much. I've had players, and I've had it myself, run one like that, and the Monty Hall scenario is just too great. It's just way too easy for you to expedite everything. It's just at that point some numbers. It's a credit game. I mean, the truth. But it's not impossible. There's some negative side effects of having a trade world that close to you. So let's hope not. We'll put it. If I roll under a 10, I'll re-roll the dice. All right. So red being my 10 today. So 29 light years away. And then we can easily go, which direction kind of thing. So if it's a 5, so north, northeast, east, southeast, south. Due south. Now, odds and even. Odd, it's below. Even, it's above, or they call it nadir and zenith. So if it's even, it's a zenith, which it'd be south and up, as opposed to south and down, right? So even, so it's south and up. zenith. Zenith axis. So now I know. Now let's take that for just a moment. Let's do a little segue on. So this trade world is south by zenith. So it's south and up from us, and it is 29 light years away. That means is three whole sections or regions, if you wish, away, and that's quite a ways, but not insurmountable. Now my scout ship, we'll just use the scout ship as an example, has a movement of 6 or 2 and a jump of a range of 6. So it can move. It has a range of 6. So it can move 6 light years per jump per turn. So once a cycle, it could travel 6 light years. So to get there, you would need to go 6 into 6 that's 24. Rounded up. Yeah. Rounded up because see, so 5, it's going to be 5 jumps. 5 jumps at 6 light year each. And then you've got consumables. So keep in mind, we carry 8 tons. Our scout ship would have 8 tons of food, fuel, oxygen, and water, and it needs those replenished at some point. So I have enough fuel, food, oxygen, water to make this a one-way trip. So I would send my scout in that direction for 5 cycles, doing 5 jumps. Now here's some dangerous problem. We don't know what that space is. We know where the coordinates for the trade world is now. What we don't know is what's between here and there, space hazards wise, encounters wise, etc. So I would then send my scout fully loaded 6 light years and then come out in a system I've never been at and mark it and hope I don't lose the ship, something catastrophic don't happen, etc. And then I repeat that 4 more times until I actually show up at the trade world. Then once at the trade world, then my ship's captain can purchase supplies and fuel to restock the ship and return. Now the downside here is my scout ship has no cargo capacity whatsoever, so I can't bring any trade goods or anything to sell to make money, and I can't buy anything that's not considered a few tons of personal crap that you might shove into a cargo or into an empty cabin or something like that. But there's no cargo capacity at all. And this is also a dangerous thing for the scout because the scout doesn't have any internal space for emergency supplies and things like this. Ideally, a good scout would have a cargo bay included, and then at that point it's a designated more of a light freighter and less of a scout, but it's a matter of how you choose to approach it. But so 5 light years or 5 jumps, and I would need to replenish the ship supplies and come back. My scout ship crew is about 10 people, and it has a life support and crew deck that supports 30. So in lieu of that, I could send a trade official. I can create a trade official and give them an entourage and some security and send all of them with 50, 100 credits in Caesars to the trade world. Then they get there. One of the first things they would do is establish a trade office for the house, and then at this point we officially have a presence on the trade world every cycle. So by definition, we would roll a planetary event roll for the trade world every cycle. We would also roll separate ship traffic rolls. Now, keeping in mind that trade world is probably getting literally hundreds of ships a day, coming and going, hundreds a day, if not more. So we're not going to try to list everybody because why would you want to? But what the rolls allow is for the house to take advantage of, oh, well, this occurred and this occurred, maybe we can make good use of it, or maybe we can tap into it. And then this just opens a wider box of options. This opens your sandbox even bigger if you want to look at it that way. All right, so what we did is are you independent? We've established this. Do you know the location of the nearest trade world? Yes. Will you tell me? Will you give me the coordinates? Yes. right? Now I could ask this captain if he'd be willing to take some of my people there. And then I risk the captain being legitimate and doing his stuff. The downside is that because if I hire the ship just takes 5 cycles to get to the trade world. It does nothing for me because I don't have a right to know what that captain knows when he gets to those destinations. We would also want to know how big his ship is and what his capacity is, because his jump capacity, his range could be greater than my basics, and if that's so, that means that it would take even less time for his ship. So one of the big huge cruise liners can make 15, 16 light years in a jump. This is just a couple hops. This is a hop skip away from our colony world. So it's all one of those possible. So the question now is let's ask him, do I want to hire him to make a run to the trade world? You know what? Let's do that and see if he'll do it. Will you hire out for trip to trade world? Now I have a 12% modifier, so red being the 10, 84, and 12, so 96. Good God, I'm running on the high ends of this stuff. So a high yes, but back to that 32 crap. Jesus, gonna come to a point where we're just gonna call it a good. So this guy's now going to allow me to hire him, and that would be a video unto itself, because there are a set of rules for figuring out how much this captain is going to charge me based on the distance. And so one of the first things to do, of course, I have to establish is the exact size and component makeup of his ship, so I know what his range and jump capacity and stuff is, including his cargo capacity. And then that factors in as well, because we're moving cargo and people over distance. And in addition to all this, we're going to want to establish, like I said, a trade office on the trade world. So I'm going to want to have a representative from my Commerce and Labor Ministry, and probably a representative from my Finance Ministry of Finance, to go. And most likely we're going to send a rep from the Intelligence Ministry. So now we're at 3 people, and at minimum. And those 3 people each will get an assistant. So now we're at six people. Now remember, we don't know how big the cargo ship, the Smuggler's capacity is for carrying people. So this may limit how many people we can send and the minimums. And ideally, we wouldn't just send. So if we send a representative from Commerce and Labor, and they have an assistant, so there's 2 people. By rights, we should send a squad of security with them. That's 5 people, so the rep's got somebody to keep an eye on him and protect him or her, and more important, the house's money and investments and resources. And then the list just goes down. So once we get to the trade world, we would rent an office space, maybe rent a warehouse space, which would cost money every cycle to maintain. And then we would then figure out ways to purchase stuff we need, and then ship it back to the house so we can utilize it. Meanwhile, while we're doing this, we would definitely want to start tasking. Ideally, I'm trying to get the components together to build at least a light freighter, because I would like to get a light freighter operating for operations inside my region. The next possibility is to find a contract. And I could have asked this fella if he wants to take a long-term contract, but I think I'm going to pass at the moment. I think I've got what I need from this individual, and we're going to call it good. Meanwhile, I will figure out, who, what, where, and why for this trade world shipment. And then I should probably do a video on trade worlds in general, because I have a subsection in the back of one of the books that talks about it in detail, and they're quite useful in a lot of ways. Eventually, I want to send every one of those 29 light years. I want to have a marker buoy sitting in those light years, so I have a concrete 100% hyper trade route from my home world to the trade world. And this reduces travel time for everybody. And then, of course, every 4 or 5 light years, we drop a comm set. Because here's the other problem. Currently, our house is maximum communications range is 6 light years as well. So in order for me to boost that, I would park one of my ships at that 6-year light year and then have them boost the signal out for another 6 light years. So in order to avoid doing that, because I don't want to be wasting ships all the time trying to make these command circuits to communicate with my office and factors on the trade world, I'm going to either have to depend on messages being sent, which the amount of time it takes for them to arrive, and then there's the other problem of credits. So if we had a concrete 100% trade world, which includes in communications links between our capital and the trade world, we could literally then transfer digitally, like you would today, credits to our factors on the trade world and back and vice versa. So we could be purchasing things and then we could also be selling things. So it's like I said on the exchange. We're going to look at our exchange and look at how much surplus items there are. And some of those surpluses matter. And so when we talk a trade world, your manufactured material is going to be pennies on the dollar, literally cheap as all get out, because they manufacture so much of it. That means I have no manufactured material that I want to take there and sell to them, because I will lose money hand over fist doing that. So what the trade worlds want and desire is trade goods. Yes, you stay down here. Trade goods and raw materials or mineral resources, and they go quite high, and some of them quite extremely high, depending on what they are and how rare they are. And then, of course, exotic goods and of that nature. So because it's the novelty of what you're trying to sell, and so there's a market, and there's many markets and many opportunities. I guess what I'm getting at. So this is a good. I think this is a good one, and we'll take a pass on going any further with it. I think after the fact, we get to when we get to the trade world itself, and I've had a chance, I will have my factor there, who will be less experienced than my minister was, which will have much bigger negative. If the thing goes well and the ship captain, the quote smuggler, makes a decent profit from this venture, then perhaps they'll be I can encourage them to take a contract with us. It might be a short-term or a long-term contract, or even a second one-shot. Perhaps we hire them again to take a load of crucial manufactured materials and other items like weapons and ship components and stuff like that, and load up their cargo bays and haul it back to the house for me. All right. So the trade world, though, so we're talking this huge change of options and plugins and things like this. This is, a great thing. Anyway, I'm Rick. You ain't. Missy's over there on the floor. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you guys have yourself a great weekend, because we're coming up toward the end of February. This is 16th, February 16th, I think.